Hello, can you hear me?
1, 2, 3, there we go. Hello and welcome to our Holocaust Library series. Without taking too much time from you, there are cookies in the back. And we're so blessed that we have our County 3, the third county, from the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, Tara Lawson-Remer, to kick this off. So let's hear from you.
Thank you so much. I'm Tara Lawson-Remer. I'm the acting chair of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors and also your elected representative here in La Jolla. My district stretches from Carlsbad to Coronado, so really anywhere along the coast. Just first of all, thank you so much to the La Jolla Library for hosting us, and thank you to Sandy and everyone for all of your tremendous work on this entire endeavor. I know it's just a labor of love, and I'm very proud that we've been able to support that from the county with some grant funding, because it's really, really important that we continue making sure that the next generation is educated and aware of the unimaginable atrocities of the Holocaust. And at this moment in history, it could not be more important to remind ourselves and to remind our community and to retell for young people the truth of what happened with 6 million Jews murdered and unimaginable atrocities committed against our people. And unfortunately, we're at a really disturbing moment in history with a rise of anti-Semitism, a rise of Holocaust denialism, and people who are emboldened right now to paint a story of the Holocaust as something that isn't true. And it is a moment that is really, really scary, I think, in a lot of ways. And so this work that you're doing and that you all are contributing to and participating in, of reminding everyone what happens when people are silent, when people don't stand up against injustice, when they think that by being quiet, that they will not become the next victim, that what happens is what we saw happen in Nazi Germany, and that we have, all of us, a permanent duty to be vigilant, to stand up against injustice and against persecution and against the kinds of atrocities that don't necessarily happen overnight, that creep up on you, and then all of a sudden you realize that the situation is worse than anyone could have ever imagined. So again, I don't want to take too much of your time. I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the work that you do, that all of you do, to continue making sure that these important messages are not lost. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're amazing. Let's hear it one more time for Tara.
Really important. A couple of people, I don't do this on my own. I do this with the help of Sam Landau. Where are you, Sam? Can you stand up for me, Sam? There we go. He's our trainer. I don't know about you, but where do you find 4 Holocaust survivors in a room, starting with Mike Wallenfels, Monia Wallenfels, Ben Midler, the Ben and Jerry show, because we've got Jerry Jolla. So we've got 4 Holocaust survivors. And just think what Tara just told us, that we have to give a legacy to the next generation. I can't begin to tell you how lucky we are to have this presentation. Oh, one more person I cannot forget, Eileen Wingard, who, you know her through her violin playing. If you go to when you go to Yom HaShoah, and the orchestra that you have, and I can't thank you enough for the beautiful music that I have heard throughout the years. There is amazing, Eileen. And Linda's here, Linda Bennett. That's really fun people. Very, very supportive. there she is. To have this group of students and people that have touched the ground of Auschwitz, that's quite a thought, isn't it? And what they're about to tell us. And it would be impossible without the arms and legs and heart of our dear Marcia Wallner. So without further ado, let me pass this on to you.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm so excited that all of you are here. I'm going to give a little introduction about the March of Living, but I first want you all to be aware that our students that are here have only been back in San Diego for 10 days. So when we get to Q&A, and if you want to know, like, how has this impacted you? And questions are really important questions. They're still processing the whole thing, let alone they're in the middle of APs and finals, they've had prom. So a lot has been going on. And so, to sort of think about that, though we do have some alum marchers up in our front row over here, that they'll be able to speak as well because they've had a few years to be able to process it. So those questions are probably going to be a little better for them. And then we also have 3 of our 4 survivors have been on the march with me. I've been blessed to have Mike, Manya, and Ben travel with me. Manya a few times. And so they will then speak about what it's like to be traveling to Poland and to Israel with teens and sort of through their eyes what that was like. So March of the Living, I'll just give a brief piece and then go on to them. I know some of you in this room have been on the march. There are adult marches. So just to put that in your mind, something you're interested in doing, let me know and I can get you to the right people. I work with the teens. March of Living we've had our 38th march, and the goal back then, and still is to learn about the Holocaust by, as you say, being on the ground, touching, feeling, and then continuing on to Israel. Last year and this year, due to the war, it's been complicated. Our delegation was the only teen delegation from the United States that continued on to Israel. So whereas there were 7,000 people, or 8,000, numbers are numbers, in Auschwitz on the day of the march itself, from Auschwitz to Birkenau, and in Poland, only 300 people, meaning our delegation, some adults, Canadian college students, etc., continued on to Israel. So this is a really special group who had that experience and had the dedication and passion to continue. And we had some interesting times both in Poland and Israel. As I always say, the march is really a roller coaster. There's highs and lows, ups and downs, black and white in both places. They're both complicated, Poland and Israel. So one other thing because then we're being taped, I do need to say that we have multiple funders who have helped our students go. The Federation, the Jewish Community Foundation, the Lou Duns Fund, and some synagogues have assisted, and just a variety to be able to assist us because it is an expensive endeavor. All right, I'm just going to introduce who's here. We have Jacob, we have Marty, and we have Micah. And we all have different parts to speak, and they're all great. They're 11th and 12th graders, which is what the goal of the march is, sort of that last push of Jewish identity before they go off to college. So I'm going to pass it on. We have photos, and they're going to talk about what they've seen and some of their impressions, and we'll continue the program. Pass this to Micah. And we have photos. Okay.
Hi guys. So what you're looking at is on Tuesday we arrived in Warsaw and essentially hit the ground running. On my left, your right, you will see a lot of flowers. That is because before we got there, there was a day commemorating, I don't know exactly who, but essentially the flowers is a symbol of what that person had done.
America Edelman.
That.
Yeah.
And basically, so that was just kind of all over Warsaw. Is that it?
introduce myself too,
And the one in the middle, that is at the cemetery. That is the first thing we did, and we just kind of went there, went to like around that, saw some pretty important people that had done some amazing things. And yeah, the thing on the leftmost for you guys, that is a memorial kind of just in the middle of the city, I think. And it is an art piece that is also in Yad Vashem with one difference. And it's got two sides to it, and it's essentially representing the Warsaw Uprising along with the Jewish diaspora and of the sword. On Wednesday, we went to the Lublin Yeshiva, which is what you see in the middle. It's essentially, it was one of the largest yeshivas in Europe, I believe. And it's still active today, still recovering, of course. And we got to spend time, and yeah. On the other pictures, you will see photos from my Dominic, essentially on the leftmost for you guys, that is a gas chamber. And on the rightmost for you guys, the bottom rightmost, you will see Zyklon B canisters, which is what they used to gas people. And above that, there is a memorial art piece commemorating the entire camp that if your eyesight is good, if not, that's fine. Essentially, in the kind of square that it has in the background, it leads to where they have a pile of ash, and it just kind of represents how much death happened there. And yeah.
One quick thing, hope everybody can hear me. These pictures were taken by Charlie, who happens to be on the East Coast right now at her sister's college graduation. So her, piece of the presentation was to do pictures, and we're all speaking from her pictures.
On Thursday, that is when we went on the march. These are, so the one on your leftmost, that is in Auschwitz 1. It is just filled with lots of people. In the middle, that is tracks outside of Birkenau, and it is a different angle from the one on your rightmost. The march, as Marcia said, had 7,000, 8,000, whatever the numbers are. Being there, it was very surreal, because you hear about Auschwitz, it being hell on earth, and when you go there and you see all of these Israeli flags, as you can see in the photos, it's filled with people. There was some singing, there was just a lot going on, and it just didn't really hit, because you're just in this place, and it's just got lots of people who have taken all the despair and brought hope to it. And during the march, when we got to Birkenau, it started pouring rain, and so that led to the ceremony in Birkenau being cut short, and a very cold and wet evening. Yeah. On Friday, we went back to Auschwitz and toured around. That's when I think it hit for a lot of people of how much happened there. On your leftmost, you will see shoes. In my Dominic, there were also lots of shoes of children, adults, all the sort. In the middle, on the top, that is a smaller gas chamber. Outside of that, there is a single gallows, which Rudolf Haas, I believe.
What?
Rudolph Hess.
Rudolph House, was hung, and that is someone who was one of the administrators at Auschwitz. The photo below the gas chamber, that is of people coming in. I believe that is a line of children. And on the rightmost for you guys, you'll see just things that, on the top, things that were taken from people, and below that is,
That's yeshiva again.
that's, which
That's
is,
yeshiva, that's not Shabbat. That wasn't the temple, but it's okay.
that's the shul we went to, essentially the last
Those are the
shul that was standing.
Yeah.
We toured around, saw what life was like before the war, and that's specifically in Auschwitz,
Oh,
and
that's
its German name,
Auschwitz.
or its Polish name, Auschwitz.
Auschwitz is the
Yeah.
Polish name for the city that then became Auschwitz, which is German. So the synagogue is still standing.
Marcia, could you use the microphone? Thank you.
So the synagogue is in Auschwitz, which is the Polish name for Auschwitz. In Auschwitz right now, the synagogue is still standing. There is really actually only one Jew who is living in Auschwitz, and she runs the cafe that is next door to this museum, which is also a synagogue, and then on the other side of it there's a museum, and her husband was the one who actually gave the tour. So it sort of puts it all together to understand for our teens that there was life in Poland before, an amazing life, which is why we went to this cemetery in the first place, to know who lived in Poland. There's a 1,000-year Jewish history in Poland, and we often just look at the piece of the war, but to understand the beauty that there was beforehand.
Yeah. And then Sunday, we went to a forest where they had found 9 mass graves, one of which being specifically for children who were in a Jewish orphanage, about 800. That is what you see in the middle, that's what's there. And on your rightmost, that is also the same thing. Just a lot of photos of like children, and just there were flags, there was toys that were placed, little trinkets, and yeah. What you see on your leftmost, the photo on the leftmost area, that is Belzec, a death camp that the Nazis themselves leveled, and it is just covered with volcanic rock and a pathway that leads to a saying which is in the Tanakh, which I'm currently blanking on. Something about blood being in the ground and not forgetting names. There's also a staircase that showed where many Jews came from different towns, places, areas, and it stretches from the very back to the very front. And then on the side, something that you don't see there is stacked train tracks, kind of to commemorate it all. And yeah.
Whoops, sorry. Okay. We're going to switch to Israel. Well, should we take questions? How do you want to do questions?
When you say you toured, were you able to go into actual bunkers?
So in Auschwitz I,
Barracks.
it does not really have that many. It has like a few, but those have mostly been turned into different like museums, kind of, where it basically showed different sections of what it was like. It has one about when people arrived. It had one about them being processed. For example, that's where you see like shoes. There was like suitcases and pans and jewelry. And one thing that is also like, we didn't have a photo because we couldn't take any, was 2 tons of just human hair that was just left. And yeah.
Okay, switch to Israel.
Switching to Israel.
So we landed in Israel about like 4 a.m. Very long day. We started at the beach. We did a prayer in the morning at the beach. Just hung out for like an hour. Did a prayer like celebrating that we're in Israel. And then we drive an hour to like a farm where we like pick some sort of like cabbage. I don't know. What was it called? Kohlrabi. So yeah, that was fun. We did that, and then after that, we went to Hostage Square, which was really impactful. We saw.
Alon Ohel's mother, he's still a hostage. One of the 58 that are still in Gaza. He is known for playing the piano. It's unclear if he'll still be able to play the piano from what is told regarding his hand and also his eye. So we had 2 of our teens who, one is a classical pianist and the other one's amazing too. They both sat down and they were playing. What we didn't know at that moment when they were playing is like on the other side of the piano there was going to be an interview of Alon's mother and father. So the father spoke in Hebrew and then the mother was speaking in English. So it all wrapped together, and the fact that we were able to be there hearing a parent of a hostage was impactful.
So from there, we went to Carmel Shook, got some food, and then after that, we went to the 9/11 Memorial. The 9/11 Memorial in Jerusalem is the only other 9/11 memorial in the world, right?
No.
Oh, not the world, but.
So there are many around the world. This is the only other one in the world that has all the names listed. So there are, I think, 54 memorials around the world in other countries, but this is the only one aside from the one in New York that lists everybody's name.
Tuesday, we went to Yad Lakashish, which was basically a place where old people, a lot of Holocaust survivors in Jerusalem could work, work at they did a lot of metal working or like fabrics, and so all of these people, like Holocaust survivors who couldn't find jobs, they could work there. And then after that, we went to Yad Vashem. We didn't go inside the actual museum, but we went outside into the memorials. We saw the Child Memorial, and then
So this, the picture that you see here is similar but different. They're both by the artist Rappaport, the Rappaport Memorial. So we saw it when we were in Warsaw, in the ghetto, across from the Police Museum. And here you can see Mordechai Analevish. There's a couple of differences. And then we talked about the slab on the other side, which also, so we did that, and then we went to a couple other memorials.
and then that night, we also went to a high school where we met up with Israeli teens, and we got to meet them and interact, and that was also a great experience. Wednesday, we started off on the Tomb of Rav, which was a memorial, and we also went to Tiberias Cemetery where we saw the tomb of Rachel, not the actual Rachel, as what.
Not Rachel,
Yeah, a different Rachel. And then later that day we went to Spot. We did a walking tour on Spot, which was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. And then that night we went on a cruise on a boat, and they had live music. Everyone was dancing, and then that night there was a kind of like a block party around Tiberias. Yeah, because Erev Yom HaTanuv. So there was a lot of music, dancing, that was a lot of fun. Thursday was a really impactful day when I hear Herzl. Especially after October 7th, there was a lot of new graves. So that was really impactful. It was hard to see, but very good to see. And then we also went to the Kotel in Old City. We prayed, and then we also went to the Jerusalem Theater later that night too. Oh yeah, and then Idan Golan was there.
She won. She won the Israel's Eurovision last year, so there was like a whole mosh pit in the beginning, in the front. Everybody knew all the songs. It was amazing. If you know her, if you don't, her song was October Rain, but then they had to change the name to be Hurricane. So she flipped between the two, saying October Rain and Hurricane, and that was great.
Friday we went up to Eretz Bereshit, where we saw this guy kind of like impersonating Abraham, which is a very weird experience, honestly. But we like made some pita and drank some coffee, which was actually very good. And then we went to Machane Yehuda Shuk, which was on a Friday, which was very busy. Hard to walk around, but the food was really good, and it was great to see like everyone just interacting on a Friday before Shabbat. And then Friday night we went to the Kotel, had Shabbat there. It was great to see like everyone interacting. There was thousands of people there praying, which was cool to see. Saturday morning, a couple people went to like the Great Synagogue. Some stayed in like at the conservative synagogue. But the Great Synagogue is awesome. It's always fun to go there and pray. And then got some rest time, had a Shabbat walk, and then we had our final reflections about the trip.
Are there any questions about Israel? Linda?
How long was the trip, actually?
Trip is 2 weeks, a week in Poland and a week in Israel. There were 60 of us we were 2 bus loads of teens from the United States.
Had any of the people, the kids, had they been to Israel before? Some had, some hadn't.
Many have been, not all. Our delegation, so I run in Western region, so San Diego, I had one team from Las Vegas had never been to Israel. I had a team from Des Moines had never been to Israel. A team who's Israeli from Humboldt up north. We were all over the place. And in general, the East Coast teams, most of them have been to Israel, but there were still some that hadn't.
Yeah, kind of a weird question, but I'll ask it anyway. I don't know if I wonder if any of you saw the movie A Real Pain, which is about a Jewish heritage trip to Holocaust trip, and if you, any of you, even those of you who went previous trips, did any of you see that movie?
I've seen that.
I'm wondering if any of the kids saw it. And the other question I have is, as far as the weather is concerned, did the weather, whether it was sunny or it was rainy, did that impact your emotions or your feelings? Did that have a?
Yeah, actually, like when we first got to Poland, everyone thought it was gonna be like super like gloomy and like gray, but it was actually like very pretty. It was very green, which I wasn't expecting, which kind of like changed like kind of my view on like Poland as a whole. Like it's very like Eastern European looking. Like I wasn't expecting that. And also like the weather in Israel was very good. It always like lightens the mood when the weather's like nice and it's hot outside. Yeah.
Micah, want to answer?
So in terms of weather, when it rained, coming out of, like, when we were in Birkenau. At least for me and a few others that I had talked to, it kind of put a lot into perspective, because you hear about, like, we've been told about how harsh Poland winters can be, and how, like, people who were in Birkenau had to go through that with thin shirts, pants, and that's about it, no shoes or anything. And being in that rain, it was very cold, and so it just kind of got me thinking, and others, like, how terrible the conditions truly were, that, and like us being in there with jackets, shoes, things we take for granted, and it still being cold, it's just kind of, it, as I said before, puts things in perspective.
Two-part question, if I may. How long was the march from Auschwitz to Birkenau?
It is, sorry,
Go ahead.
2.5 kilometers?
3 kilometers.
3 kilometers, which is two and a half, some whatever kilometers.
But it takes. So it's 3 kilometers, not very long, but when you're moving 7,000 people, it takes a long time. So yes, if we were just like taking our own walk, it could take us 20 minutes. But when you are moving 7,000 people, it takes a while.
The other question was, both the Poland trip and the Israel trip sounded like you were go, go, go the entire time. Travel, do something, travel, do something. Is that correct?
Very correct. We didn't get a lot of sleep.
Sleep on bus.
Yeah, slept a lot on the bus.
But you had a good leader.
Exactly. Well, she wasn't actually like the leader. It was a different person. I wouldn't say he was a very good leader.
Did you have opportunity to do your own thing, or were you always on the tour? And the reason I ask that is because you mentioned that you can go into Yad Vashem if you had chosen to.
In Israel, we had a lot more free time just because there wasn't as much to pack into, based on the fact that it was like more of a Holocaust-based trip, so there wasn't as much Holocaust-based stuff to do in Israel. But we were behind most of the time. Like, there wasn't a day where we went ahead of schedule, so we didn't really have time to like go into Yad Vashem if we wanted to. Because also Yad Vashem isn't somewhere where you go in for 30 minutes, see the whole thing, and then come out. You need like a whole day there. So in terms of like museums in Majdanek, we could kind of walk in and out of the different like rooms. It was kind of the same as Auschwitz. Like, it was set up where the old barracks were museums. So at Majdanek you could do that, but I think that was like the only museum where we had free time to like walk around.
You go first. Oh yeah.
In addition, another reason why we didn't go to Yad Vashem is because we had already really seen what it had in there, so it would essentially just be seeing like photos of the places that we had already been.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, question.
What were the things that motivated you or affected you the most while you were there?
Like in terms of what, going around or what?
In terms of your feelings, in terms of your understanding of what was happening, what you were seeing.
In my case, a lot of just family history, in particular, like we saw in Auschwitz like a book of names, which had a long list of names, and names to me like is a very important thing. It has a lot of history in like a name, and so I guess it's a part of that just keeps me motivated to learn.
So Sam, that's a great question. I'm going to have you ask some of our alums on that, because again, they've been back for only 10 days. So to really, they need time to process. So what they say that, like, they'll come back next year and they'll be able to, have potential, they'll have thought about it.
Do you require them to like write something, or they talked about reflections? Did you
So, we'll have the other group talk more about reflections. They do an essay, there's an interview process, so there's an interview process to be able to become part of March. I've been involved for over 20 years. Usually it's called down for people who are willing to and able to take 2 weeks off of school and put themselves a week in Poland. But it's not for everybody. Even of my 3 kids, there's one that is, Poland is not her thing. But ideally at each evening or on site, there should be reflections. As Marty said, we were always running late, but my other group will be able to talk about when we do reflections, because it's really important to have reflection time on the ground, or otherwise it just becomes one big mush if you haven't really processed it at all at that moment.
Question over there.
I'm curious how old you guys are, what high schools you guys go to, and what motivated you to sign up for the march, like individually?
Jacob and I are both 18, go to Torrey Pines, but I'll speak for myself on what motivated me. Personally, I've always been super interested in Holocaust history, like World War II specifically, history has always been a big interest of mine. And growing up, the only books that I would ever want to read were books about the Holocaust or World War II. Like in school, I got really good grades on those units. But I wanted, specifically for this trip, I wanted to be able to tie my love for Israel, to my love for Judaism, and find the reason, why I was so tied to it, and appreciate. I feel like I could appreciate Israel a lot more coming from Poland, seeing what the foundation of Israel, not the foundation of Israel was built on, but what the foundation of everyone's love for Israel is built on. And that was really meaningful for me, especially going to the 1948 museum in Shahargai. Yeah, that. That was also really cool to see, because that, the beginning of Israel and the ending of the Holocaust, that tied it all together for me.
Do you want to continue on with Sammy? We're gonna get back to that question, but
Yeah.
Marty has another piece to talk about.
Okay.
So.
So I'm gonna talk about Sammy now. Me and Sammy, he was my bud on the trip. I initially just started we were on the same bus, but I always saw him lagging behind. Oh, sorry. Sammy was the Holocaust survivor that was on our on the trip with us, and I initially just wanted to help him walk everywhere because I saw that he was lagging behind, and my grandpa's the same age as him, so I know how that is. So I would just take his arm and walk him everywhere, and I didn't expect him to be as well spoken and as thoughtful as he was. But having conversations with him was so enlightening and so easy, which I totally was not expecting. And as I would help him up the stairs and walk around with him, I got to know a lot about him. And I learned that he was born in Transylvania, which is a tiny little city in what's now Romania. And he was 1.5 when he and his parents got sent to a work camp in modern day Ukraine, I think, yeah. And he grew up, when he got out of the camp, he grew up and didn't know that he was a Holocaust survivor. His parents didn't talk about it. And then when he was much older, he had a lot of pains in his body growing up. And he told me that he wasn't the type of person to complain about it, which I think also is why I connected with him so much, is because my grandpa would say the same thing. But he wasn't the kind of person to complain about his pains or try to put it on anyone else. So when he was really old, not really old, 30s, I think, I was the wrong house to say that when he was pretty young, he asked his parents about it, or he brought it up to them, and they told him that he was in the Holocaust when he was a baby, and even though he doesn't remember it, there was a lot of tests done on him that made him in pain for the entirety of his life. And his back always hurt, his knees always hurt, his feet, everything on him was always in pain. And when he was telling me this, I was thinking, why are you doing this march with a bunch of 18-year-olds? Why do you think you can keep up? And he was keeping up with us the whole time. He never opted for the bus, unless we were in Old Jerusalem, but that was was a lot of hills. I think he only took a taxi or like a go-kart like once or twice, not a go-kart, like a golf cart, once or twice. And he told one of the other adults on the bus with him that it was because he wanted to show off to us teens. And I just learned how resilient you have to be. Like, obviously everybody knows that Holocaust survivors are like the most resilient people in the world, but hearing it from him and walking with him through Israel, walking with him through Poland was really inspirational to me. And I think probably the most inspirational moment was in Belzec, which was our last day in Poland. He and I were walking through the Belzec Memorial together, and that's the one where they didn't have any records of anyone who came because they got off the train and immediately were murdered. And we only know that because there was one Holocaust survivor from that camp. But we were walking through the camp together, and as we were like walking down the stairs coming out of the memorial, he was asking me like how I was feeling about the whole trip and like how impacted I was by all of the camps. And he was telling me like how he felt, and he said that he didn't really know how he felt, which I think was also really impactful for me, like talking to a Holocaust survivor who doesn't know how he feels being in a camp it's like really reassuring that you don't have to be okay about it, like there's always something to do. And yeah, Belzec was definitely like the most impactful moment with him. And then when we got down to the camp, Joel and Marcia gave us the letters that our parents wrote for us. And he read my letter from my dad with me, and he asked me if I was gonna cry, and I said no. But I did. And then I helped him light a candle in memorial and put it on the stacked railroad tracks. And then we went to Israel, and obviously I helped him walk a lot in Israel because he was my bud by then. And then I presented him with we gave him a paper with his Hebrew and English name on it, and everyone from the other bus signed it, and another kid wanted to give it to him, but everyone elected me to give it to him. So I gave it to him, and that was really kind of like a full circle moment because we started in Poland, where, not like physically the place where he could have been killed, but like he was part of the Holocaust in a camp, he could have been killed. And then we ended up in Israel, and we're giving him a signed paper of all of us, like saying how much we appreciated him and how like meaningful his presence was to us. And yeah, he was just him being there, getting to walk from Poland to Israel with him was like definitely made the trip like 10 times more meaningful. Are there any questions? Yeah.
What do you think of the next generation as you're listening to these students?
They are very impressive, I have to say. You know, when we went, we didn't have this kind of a follow-up afterwards, but it's very interesting to hear your experience.
Manya?
I would say it was very, very emotional, and it was very important to see how those young kids all came from different parts of the country, and then it became like a one group of people. So that really touched my heart, you know, that how they were interested and see. It's different when you read a book or you are there and you can see everything. So I'm very glad that, you know, all of you who went there learned a lot of things and can really appreciate and try to teach and voice, you know, the Holocaust is not a joke. It happened, and we have to allow that the new kids, the youngsters, that they would carry, the voice that never, that such a tragedy would never happen again. So and for myself it was also an experience because I was born in Poland and I was a child, and that I lived through those things. And when I used to go and talk to schools or a church or everything, I was really happy to hear and see how the kids were so interested that it took me, and I was glad to see that it really happened.
Dan, what is it like listening to these children? I know you have something to say. Ben's my best friend, by the way.
In 2019, when I went with March of Living, the students were not like that. At that time, nobody thought about the Holocaust. I opened up their eyes and I explained to them, I was once of them in the same age, and I was taken to concentration camps, and I went through, because I had one goal, to stay alive, to be reunited with my family. And that's all what cares with everybody, and to tell the students in the world, they should never forget what happened, and be positive. Happened, it's happened, only don't let it go to your heart and to your brains. Work on it, that shouldn't happen again. And that's most important thing for everybody, not only for the students, for the whole world to listen, it wouldn't happen. For me, it changed the life. When I was going to get married, I got one choice, live in the past or live for the future. I chose the second, live for the future. I didn't talk to my daughters. I had kids at that time. I didn't talk to them to the age of 16. The reason for that, I don't want they should feel sorry for me, and they should feel bad for themselves. And so my life came out, this the best what could be, and I tell everybody what it is. I was on FIDF trip to Poland and Israel now, and I told the Brazilian soldiers from Israel coming to see the camps. Everybody was surprised the way I'm talking. I've never been at what happened. I told them one thing, I am alive today, and the people who did the Havel are dead already. So who won? I won. So live the right way, live for the future, and it'll help you. Be positive. I live the motto mind. Yesterday was gone, today is today, and tomorrow will be a better day. Thank you.
And last but not least, it's funny because Ben and Jerry makes me hungry. Jerry, what is it like to listen to these students?
Well, my only thought was echoing what Ben just said. Look for the future. It's a good future. And understand how lucky you are to be alive today. And know that, the Jews were around for a long time, will be around for a long time. So live your life happily. What happened before, but there's going to be a future for you. Build a future. That's all I can say. It's what happened, shouldn't happen again. And you can work for that.
And never forget.
And
Never forget.
That's right. I see a hand over here. Yes, sir.
I'm curious, since you're part of the San Diego school system, what's covered about the Holocaust in the schools?
What is covered in the schools in, the Holocaust, how they cover it? Okay.
Yeah, like when the teachers say we're going to learn about the Holocaust, what do?
Honestly, in my opinion, they do a really good job of covering the Holocaust. We do, in my classes, sophomore year we read Mouse. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's a comic book basically, and it's about the Holocaust, but it's like a story, and instead of a person, it's a mouse. But yeah, and then in history they cover World War II. They talk briefly about it. There's not like a whole Holocaust unit. I took AP World sophomore year and we did have a whole Holocaust unit. I don't know if that is because my teacher was Jewish. But I know they do talk about it. I just don't know if they touch on it as much as like the Shang Dynasty or anything. But they do, like they don't pretend it doesn't exist. They do say like 6 million Jews died, and not like Hitler, Nazis. They talk about it. It's just not as much as I would like, but I'm like a Holocaust nerd, so I don't know.
At my school, unfortunately, we don't have.
Where do you go to school?
Where I go to school is High Tech Mesa. I'm currently a junior, and unfortunately, there's next to none. The most we got freshman year was a video, barely touched anything. And in 10th grade, same thing. And so unfortunately there's not much.
But you did a project in 10th grade.
But in 10th grade, I had the choice to research a topic of my choosing and write an essay about it. And in that essay, I chose the topic of the Holocaust. I got to interview Marsha. I got to interview some Israelis that were visiting, and just kind of talk about their education, their views, and all of that. And part of why I chose to do that was in 8th grade when I was at small San Diego Hebrew Day School, Jewish day school, and my teacher who taught it, his mother was a survivor. In addition, Ben actually taught at my school. I still remember that. And so it just kind of, that's when the quote spark, I guess, lit for me. And I just kind of took that and learned as much as I could.
Otherwise,
They have the same teacher, so same thing. We have a few minutes left, and I actually want to pass the mic to some of our alums. Maytal and Neshama went in 2023, maybe? I think so. And Shoshana, who doesn't want to talk, so she won't have to go. What year did you go? You went a long time ago.
I went in 2017.
Wow, 17. So I'm going to pass the mic to them to be able to talk a little bit more about reflections, because they've had more time to reflect than 10 days.
Go for it.
Hi everybody, I'm Maytal. Reflections after the march. So I guess I can talk about what I used the march for afterwards.
Yeah, like now, like if you talk about, yeah.
Okay. So when I got back, we both went our junior year of high school. So I spent my senior year, I volunteered, after the march, I decided I wanted to do more Holocaust education. Similarly, my school touched on it like a little bit. We read Night instead of Mouse, but
we also read The Book Thief.
Yeah, we read The Book Thief. But I decided I wanted to do a little bit more with it. So I went and volunteered for the Butterfly Project for about a year, which was really impactful and a very interesting experience. And now I'm in college. I just finished my first year, and so I took a class on the Holocaust, in which I worked on an art installation about cultural memory But yeah, the march really just like, it lit a fire, I guess. Like it sort of just really, I don't know, it was really impactful. I would definitely do it again, I think. I would definitely go again. But it was a really shaping experience. It really like, I think you don't totally realize it now, but the amount of stories and like little things that you learned along the way, they stick with you a lot more than you think they will. Like random names or random moments that I guess were sort of said, but sort of said in a way that like, you're gonna hear this and you're gonna know this for the next 2 weeks and you're gonna forget it. But I still like, I could tell you names, I could tell you where I heard that story, like they sit with you a lot more than you think. And they do come up and they do impact the way like I move around in my life now. So yeah, and that's what I gotta say about that.
Adding on to that, somewhere is like when you get a photo memory on your phone, I will get some sometimes, and it's a picture either from a concentration camp or from Israel, or it's even just like a picture of me and my friend that were on the trip. And I can definitely, I feel what I felt while I was there. It doesn't go away. It's like I'm taken right back to that point in my life. And it was really special. My sister went before me, and so we had been talking about it since we were probably, I don't know, 11 years old or 12. And every year we were like, we're gonna go on the march together. We're gonna go our junior, senior year. And so it was really special to be able to finally do that. And it was the best experience of my life, absolutely. And I would do it again, and I want to in the future. So, yeah.
Did you young ladies do birthright?
Not
yet.
I'm trying to next year, actually. So.
Couple of things I wanted to tell you. Don't get mad at me. Somebody's gonna get mad at me. We have this amazing volunteer, Kurt Alexander. And Kurt is sitting right here. He has volunteered to clean the cases, clean things in the exhibit. He has been he and his wife have been so supportive, bringing me books from Terrazin. But the fact is that if something is wrong, I can call on Kurt. And you have no idea what it's like to know that we have this. So I want to thank you so much, Kurt, for what you do. On Friday, Sam and I are part of the Harvey Milk Breakfast. And then I leave for Tijuana to do a talk for the Boys and Girls Club. And then Monday, I leave for 10 days to go to Poland, where I'll be going to about 10 to 15 different camps, but on my own with the person who guided us with our Holocaust memorabilia. As you know, we do a lot of collecting. When I come back, Sam is going to be going to Terrazin with Jan. Just so you know, on June 10th, we have a little change of plan here with people that are going to be talking. Maria Coleman will be speaking. She's a Holocaust survivor and an artist. And what happened was, and again, Kurt volunteered right for this, where we knew that her art collection was in Bisbee, Arizona, which is about 10 to 12 hours away from here. And Kurt was willing to go to pick up this collection. And as Maria said, I had a great time working on this Holocaust collection because she's a Holocaust survivor. But that wasn't good enough to leave it in Bisbee. It's now with us. So what's going to happen is on June 10th, Maria will be talking about her Holocaust experience, and then followed by going into the exhibit to see the collection that we're going to be putting up. And the people that funded this today, the grant people who helped us, they came today to the exhibit. Summer Steffen was at the exhibit. Tara Lawson-Rimmer was here at the exhibit today. And we've had a total of 5 Holocaust survivors in the exhibit. I don't know if it gets any better than that. I really mean that. So it's up to you to help me with the word of mouth. I'm gonna hand the microphone back to Marcia, and I'll let you tell me what we're doing from there, okay? Oh, what's him? Sam. Dana, is Dana in here? Okay, Dana is the head of our library, and without Dana, I don't know where we would be because of what we put together, so I wanted to let you know. And for you guys, Max, videotape for you. This is my son, and Marcia, you'll be getting a copy of the videotape. Okay, so we're going to give that to you, and we're going to leave the group here. So you can look at things. If you want to come up to the exhibit, I'm going to be in the exhibit. And Jerry, I have something for you, some paperwork. So I'm going to hand this back to you. Yeah, but we have an hour. But if they wanted to look at
Okay,
that,
just checking your time. So over there, I have some photo albums, like really Shutterflies from past years. I didn't bring all my albums that were pre-Shutterfly, but also some journals so you see what we do when we give. We didn't have time to do the Ode to Poland. Do you want to end with that?
Sure.
Yes, okay, so we're gonna just keep you for a few more minutes. So what we do, you guys will remember it, at the end of our Poland trip, we have students give like 1 or 2 sentences about their reflections to basically sum up that period, that time in Poland, at the moment, on the ground. For later, they'll have more reflections and we'll be reflecting differently, but sort of their sense then. I'm gonna have Micah and Marty read it. Because we had 60 people, it's a little more than 60 sentences. But it'll give you a sense of how at that moment after a week in Poland, how our students were feeling. And I hope you find it as impactful as I do.
Poland was an incredible and eye-opening experience for me. Seeing real proof of what happened here with my own eyes was horrifying, but also brought me some sense of closure. I am grateful for the opportunity to be here. This trip meant so much to me. Seeing the concentration camp really impacted me in a special way. How special and important it is to be Jewish, and how lucky I am. The trip really inspired me to always try to give back to the Jewish community and try to help it grow stronger and more connected as long as I possibly could. Poland has been meaningful. The cities are beautiful, but what lies underneath is the near extinction to the Jewish race. This trip helped me deeply connect with my Judaism. Sunday was the first time I cried during the trip. It was because of the letter Marcia and Joel gave me. Thank you for letting me on this trip. Even though awful things happened here, I still felt closer to God than I do back home. This trip has made me love my Jewish culture more and my sense of Jewish pride.
This trip taught us the true importance about sticking together in Judaism, connecting to my Judaism. This week has taught me to never forget the past and to be the future, as well as grateful for the life I have. There are so many words to describe my time here. It made differences in my life emotionally, spiritually, and even physically. Though all the sadness there was still a light when we go to show our Jewish pride and pray together. This has been such a memorable experience. Emotionally exhausting, physically painful. This week has made me even prouder to be Jewish. Seeing what my brothers and sister have gone through was so empowering. Observing how the Jewish community is rebuilding makes me want to contribute to the cause and marry Jewish. To summarize how this week has made me feel is empowered. I can't wait to get out of Poland. It has been emotional. It's crazy that there was once a large and thriving Jewish population in Poland, and now there are only remnants and traces of what was once there. Coming to Poland made me appreciate the land of Israel so much more.
It was really bittersweet during the march, being with so many other Jewish and non-Jewish people in such a dark place. reminded me of how fragile life, and especially Jewish life, can be. It is clear to me how important it is to be a proud and practicing Jew. I learned a lot about my religious self and my spiritual embodiment of my neshama. As a result, I'm able to appreciate Am Yisrael and what it meant for us to thrive in the 80 years since the Shoah. This has been one of the most meaningful weeks of my life. Being in this environment has made me rethink a lot and be proud of my heritage and people. This week has shown me how lucky I am to be freely and proudly Jewish with no worries of prosecution. Raise your kids Jewish. I feel grateful to practice Judaism freely. I found this week to be truly empowering but also devastating. We must continue living to honor our Jewish siblings, never again. This week in Poland has been very educational and emotional to me.
We are not alone. Names have history, and losing names is losing history. I've always learned and heard about the Holocaust, but being in Poland was something completely different. Seeing how the Jewish population was heartbreaking, but also seeing the unity of the Jews was even stronger. Am Yisrael Chai. I am so grateful for the land of Israel, our home. The past of Jewish history, and to know this will never happen again. The most meaningful time I had in Poland was the short amount of time I got to spend with the non-Ziva tour guide. The week brought another dimension to not only my knowledge of the Holocaust, but me as a person. Viewing these atrocities with our own eyes as opposed to through a screen was so meaningful. I feel more connected to my Judaism and my ancestors than ever before. Thank you for the opportunity to learn about the Holocaust and to remember. Ein etgar gadol midai le'am ha-netzach. There is no challenge greater than the eternal people. Poland is very sad and highlights some bad parts of our history, but it made me feel closer to my Jewish faith.
Poland is awful and horrible, can't wait for Israel. Poland is sad and has no food, but holds so much history. It's been a difficult but meaningful trip. I think that coming to Poland and seeing how people were treated is an essential part of being a Jew, especially a young Jewish adult. I am grateful to have witnessed these parts of Jewish history and to know that this will never happen again.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Tell your friends to come to the exhibit.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah.